Pomare, whakawalahi atu. My name is Aliki Lee. Thank you so much for jumping in and see what we're going on. Before we get started, I'm going to show you another little clip and something which I think is really important for us to set the tone of what we're going to discuss here today. So we'll see you again real soon. Once again, let's get this started. So absolutely extraordinary scenes that was shown there. And of course, this was one that mainstream media was basically thrown across all of their channels, that it was a friendly protest, that there was a fun counter protests. And yet the violence, the utter violence that you saw from the transactivist crowd was appalling. And of course, it made New Zealand look very, very embarrassing and very humiliating for New Zealand, especially in terms of a foreign sense. We got utterly mocked by all of the Western nations. Every single Western nation mocked us, and rightfully so, because we allowed transactivist violence to attack women for speaking about women. Absolutely extraordinary. So we hear also, because that footage was taken by Simon Anderson, a guy who was able to get some excellent footage of that. In fact, his footage has been used to pinpoint some of the transactivists who were quite violent in that area. They were beating up grandmothers, they were beating up women. It was quite extraordinary. And these, of course, the vast majority of them were males who attacked females. And yet, by calling themselves calling themselves females, it's extraordinary that they were suddenly given a pass by the authorities. Now, we have someone who we have been communicating with. That person has been doing some excellent work. He may come on board, he may not, but I want to say that he is looking after his ability to be safe, and I think that's really important. As you know, we work and we have interviewed a lot of people who have had to risk their safety and have had their safety taken away by various transactivists or LGBTQIAP plus activism. It's very shocking what can happen in today's environment. In fact, later on today, we'll also be doing another live stream where parents, especially the Chinese community, are starting to stand up against the sexualized education system that we are starting to see now. Now, I do have a guest who was there at the march. I was there, and this person actually was in the midst of it. So I'm just having a quick glance to see if she is good to go with coming on board. I'm going like that. Yeah. Yes, yes, there we go. So without further ado, let me bring on my guest and also person who was at the Posey Parker parade. This is, of course, Liao Tilsley. Liao, talofa, wabai.
Talofa lava, Elliot. Wa mai oi.
Yeah, good, 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 good. So you were there. That was quite shocking. Now, where were the police? Were the police around? What's going on? Where were the
Ah,
police?
actually, the whistling sounds were actually quite triggering. I'm going to use a left word. It was actually quite triggering because the only thing I keep hearing from them and yelling at me, being a brown Pacifica woman, is Nazi go home, Nazi,
Nazi,
and, yeah,
Nazi, go
Nazi
home.
go home. Yeah, yeah. And I was like, oh, there's been a lot of people who haven't had a look at history. So the police were there. Yes, they were definitely there. They were not doing anything to. I didn't feel protected by them. That's for sure. In fact,
Right.
I was
Wow.
protecting other people. I was protecting other people, and I felt
Yes, you
that.
were.
Hmm, and I actually felt that I don't know. Maybe they didn't know what to do. They may not have been in a riot before. I don't know. But you would think trained police would at least give the people who they're being targeted um, some sort of, I don't know, feeling of protection. Feeling of protection, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
fair
how we've
enough.
always seen our police, always.
Mm.
So,
And yeah, well, one of the very common things that they do at various protests, and I've been on abortion and free pro-life marches, and the police
yes.
basically have this line where it is. I
Yeah.
mean, look at this. I mean, that's shocking. Look at that. They're absolutely. They do. It's Zoran has actually made up a really good point there. Rabid lynch mob. Rabid
Mm,
lynch mob. Absolutely. Look at that. They are just surging for Posey Parker. They are
yeah.
surging for her, and I really am worried as to what would have happened if they had actually gotten their hands on her. You know,
Yeah, see, I can still feel the feelings that just watching this, there was just this incredible frenzy, and if they had gotten a hold of her, they literally would have trampled her. There, because the anger was beyond them. Such a bizarre kind of anger that I haven't seen much of, my life, where people are just so frantic that you don't even know what happens until it's happened. Do you know the
mm,
kind of anger that I don't know. I don't know. Is it built up? Is it sort of encouraged? Is it because that kind of anger isn't something, it's quite rare to see. And you can understand why afterwards they're like, "What? What did I do? What
mm,
happened?" Because
yeah,
that was such a built up frenzy. It's like frothing at your mouth and just going for it. Whoever seemed deemed to be against you or evil or whatever it was, we're going to go for you.
yeah, no, fair enough. And yeah, I can't help but feel that it really nearly feels as if that there was a slightly unhinged tone to it. That when you were I was trying to ask questions on the outside, and they would actually be a little bit unhinged. And I mean, I do mean that in as respectful manner as I can sum up, because they would logic would start struggle with, and instead of actually saying, "Ah, look, you don't know what you're talking about," or anything like that, instead they would start to escalate,
Yeah.
and I would make sure that I was just asking polite questions.
Mm.
I was not trying to do some sort of personal gotcha or anything like that. And I noticed that their psychology, perhaps neurology, was very brittle, very
Yeah.
brittle. And perhaps that's part of it. And that's why I am worried that if they had gotten their hands on Posey
Mm.
Parker, if they will get their hands on Posey Parker next week, what will they do? You know,
I
because
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, carry on.
I was just thinking maybe a little bit different next week, just because there's been a whole lot of things that have happened that have been exposed since then. Hopefully, they would have looked at it and went, "What the heck happened? Why
Mm,
was I so worked up about it?"
yeah.
Um, yeah,
And I just
you
want
would hope so.
the angle that, of course, why we are discussing this now is because of that the man who was able to expose some of the things. This is just last night he was able to expose some things, and we're going to have a look at that. But
Mm,
the context of this, why we're bringing it up now, of course, is that next week Posey Parker is coming here because of some people term him the tomato soup guy. That was the man who dresses as a woman, and he basically douse he attacked Posey Parker with tomato juice. I don't know if there was physical contact, but he definitely, I think, definitely assaulted her. And then of course, he managed to get away and left alone. So she's coming back. I believe she's coming back for the
court
court
case.
case that's going, and
Yeah.
then of course they go to speak, and that I believe that's the 20th, which should be next Wednesday. So the women are going to need protection. I myself, I'll be there. I know that some of the other guys will be there. I'll be putting out a call soon, and hopefully that the men will stand there to defend a woman's right to speak, and that they keep to science, because of course science says that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. There is none of this gender, non-binary, cis. That's fine to pretend it, but not to coerce others to carry out the same delusion and to believe in that delusion. And I think that's really important that we deal with. Now, we do have I think Madeline's brought up a very interesting comment there. They seriously looked like they were so deep in rage, they could have killed the poor woman and anyone who was for her. It's absolutely disgusting to think we accepted this in New Zealand. So much New Zealand awarded the so much that New Zealand awarded the organizer of its mob with Young New Zealander of the Year. It's absolutely laughable. And that's exactly what we saw happen, is that the world laughed at New Zealand. We were mocked for effectively allowing the bullying and the violent suppression of women in that regard. So, yeah, absolutely, it was right there. Uneski, unhinged being the operative word. Right, so I want to get your take on this, Liao, because this is, of course, why we're here. And I want to bring up what this person has made. This is, this is a powerful thread that we've got here. Right, this is from Simon Anderson. Simon Anderson has been able to somehow gain. Now, he may come along later on, he may not. And I absolutely don't mind, because, he's done so much already in terms of exposing some of the elements going on. What he's put here is, here are the internal New Zealand police communications that the New Zealand regime and their allies don't want you to see. And now in this, some of this seems fine. Some of this really does seem fine. All right. So you've got Rona Stace, I believe his name is. Rona Stace is a New Zealand. Now let's have a look here. Rona Stace is a transgender police officer. That police officer was also one of the main organisers of Pride, and so he was a part of this area as well. All right. So I'm just going to pop this up, and I want you to have a look at. I don't not in a way, but here. This is Rona Stace. All right, so this is the person who is. There we go. All right, and of course, this is a Stuff website one. Rona is not a celebrity. She's a policewoman that her two kids still call dad. Immediately, we've already got some sort of concerns around biology. She's also a 6-foot blonde in a miniskirt who was being followed by a cameraman. All right, so of course the left are very much strongly to push that this male is a female, and of course that is not science. Right? I think we will all agree that everyone should be able to, believe what they want to believe. That's fine, but what should not happen is the rest of society to be coerced, forced to believe that. All right, so that's what's going on there. Now, Simon Anderson has brought out his expose in that. And what we want to do is we're going to have a little giz-gaz here. And how it starts off is these emails can be found on Twitter or X, or I don't know what they call it now. All right, so what you can see is this email here is just talking about their investigation on what it was and all of that. The police have saying in here all relevant information, timings, route numbers outlined in the email sent by Rona Stace as a summary of their discussion. Yeah, so Rona Stace, again, this person who was very hard LGBTQIAP plus, very transgenderism. You know, he has been a part of the admin roles here. And this is where we get concerned because, of course, as Leo has said, the police effectively abandoned them. They were supposed to do a line, and they did. They actually really did abandon them. All right. Here is another email. All right. And if you have a look there, while we would not normally facilitate the movement to the airport, it was necessary given the immediate risk. This came from Inspector Gray Anderson. So that meant that Pollie Parker needed to have an escort because of the violence that was being taken to the woman for speaking up about women, really. All right. In here, summary. Relatively low numbers turned up in support of Let Women Speak. Let Women Speak, really? Gosh. The main and only speaker, Kelly J. Keane, a.k.a. Pollie Parker, turned up around 9:45. Yada yada, around 200 plus in reception. Rotunda ground. Across from the number of Rainbow Community Group supporters set up camp by the Park Fountain. Start off slowly, but by 10 a.m. or just after, numbers swelled to over 2,000 to 3,000 at least. 10:30, this group moved over to the Rotunda. This is the transactivist group. And it came to head, became vocal, started to move on the Rotunda where the speaker was set up. There were threats and intimidation occurred. Pollie Parker felt threatened and asked to leave the area. We established an evac team, took her to our vehicles, and got her back to the hub. Large crowd remained at the park, but mainly causing no issues. Part of this group, and mainly Rainbow community members, transitioned to Aotea Centre. Now, two parts there. One, where were they? Where were the police? Police abandoned. All right. So according to this summary, it really looks like it looks very calm in the summary. There were threats, intimidation occurred. So just some threats, intimidation. I'm sorry, punching old women and attacking people is not intimidation. That is violent assault.
Yeah.
Pollie Parker felt threatened and asked to leave. Felt threatened? She was threatened. Leah, your parts on that?
I mean, using language that sort of minimizes what actually happened there is really damning to them, because what they're saying and what actually happened are two different things. So I feel, because it's obviously slanted towards protecting the transgender group, it hasn't actually told the truth. You've used language that has minimized exactly what happened, how threatened we were, how the police escorting us out, of the premises, not even to where we were. They wanted us away from the actual place, down the road in public area. They even the police came to us and said, this is not enough. You need to keep going. You need to go to your vehicles. We can't guarantee your safety. That was
we can't guarantee your safety.
Yeah, you can hear it in my live when I had it. That's what he constantly said to me.
Extraordinary. And also, when you look at the video as well, that Simon Anderson has, the one that looks over the crowd surging forward in a very violent, threatening manner, I do notice I don't see any police there. Is that accurate? When the male attacked Pollie Parker, and then Pollie Parker had to get down there and they gapped out, were there police there?
I don't know, because I actually came a little bit later. I wasn't there when it actually happened when I arrived there, I was thinking, what is happening? Why has this become a, I was here to listen to someone. Obviously, it
Mm,
had already happened, but at that point, they were starting to target anyone that didn't look like them
right. Yes.
or had
And there are
anything.
plenty of
Yeah,
there are plenty of and I think there are plenty of examples and live streams that show that, even if it's denied, it's absolutely. Then we've got these links in here as well, and I want to really, there's something I want to really sort of point out. This is now, I believe this is operational, and I may be wrong. So I believe this is operational, not tweets, but operational messages back and forth. Midgley, Sean, then thumbs up. Then you've got Christopherson, flights delayed until 17:19. Everyone there seems to be a few. There seems to be a few different email and text chains that not everyone has slipped in. Okay, please use this WebEx to add all relevant updates and information. All right. Whanamanu is the inspector, of course, and he's up there. Also interesting that there's now an out of scope, an entirely redacted environment of this operation. That's very interesting. Now, this is where it's going to get started. Now, here we go. So this is also where we start to, this is the operational. Now, again, I've looked through this a few times, but I'm still just getting my head around it. But from what I can gather, this is the operational WebEx or comms that the police use internally. That's what I think. Please correct me if I am wrong. So here we go. 11 a.m. No camera angle that we can see crossing will lead witnesses or other. Then you've got at 11 a.m. northern side of the rotunda. Stage completely surrounded now. All right. And then 11:02. Guest of honor has arrived. Gray, Daniel, redacted. Why is that redacted? Why is that redacted? What was the comment there? What happened at 11:03 that was noticed by Daniel Gray? In that, that's what I'd like. I think that we should really know that. Now it's going to get a bit intense here. Daniel Gray, 11:15, fencing being actively dismantled. All right, Benjamin. Then Aotea Square update. Somehow it's out of scope. All right, 11:19 by Jack Adams. Rotunda has well and truly been taken over. Then you've got Janvi Patel. Civil calls are coming from public about the protest at Albert Park. And all this time, they're not, what's going on? All right, Jack Adams, counterspin within the Rotunda crowd, now getting greeted by some fans while live streaming. There's more redaction here. All right, now I want to point out this one here goes. Yeah, let's have a look. Right, this was actually a little bit. That was a little bit, but. Plan is to surround Brad Rotunda, create enough noise to drown out the speakers. 500 to 2,000. Large Instagram Twitter messaging directing Pride community to attend and bring with them implements for creating noise, described as noise of celebration rather than conflict. Now, can I just point out that the messaging from mainstream media and their Facebook groups were very, very strong about their narrative being, it seems that the counter-protest is more akin of celebration. The word celebration appeared a great deal across the board, and I find that fascinating, that the mainstream media will report this as a celebration, even though there were, the violence, the vitriol, the spitting, the swearing, the attacks, but they're saying it's noise celebration. What I find interesting is that the mainstream media followed that wording. Celebration, noise of celebration, and I think that is a fascinating thing to consider. Also, it appears to be that the Pride person knows about that counter protest. All right, now we're going to go back here. I'm going to see if I can just switch around here, because there is a little bit here that I want to let's see. I want to actually find. There we go. Right. Stage setup, expecting a lot of people. 20 marshals will be wearing a pink area. There's a one part that I'm just looking for. I'm having a look. Here we go. Right. So this is the overview of the Speak Up for Women. All right, numbers. Now, this is the police overview of the Speak Up for Women crew. Unknown females aged 30 plus described their group as mothers, grandmothers, daughters, which is exactly what they were. No intention to cause trouble or engage in any conflict. They don't want to engage in any conflict. They want their voices to be heard.
Mm.
Many of their attendees are new to protesting. The last protest here was support wives, midwives in 1990. They are there to listen to the woman speak. Their aim is to set their focus to the front stage and ignore all others outside the crowd fencing. So there was fencing. The idea was that they were supposed to be left alone. The strategy for those that go against their rule is to tap them on the shoulder and politely ask them to leave. The focus is on the inside of their own fence and to ignore all others. They just wanted to be left alone. They wanted to be left alone. And now I want to bring up down here, there's also more redaction. If you have a look at these concerns, under that banner concerns, expectation of police is to stay a distance away from the fence, but to create a line between them and the counter-protesters. All right, to stay a distance away from the fence, but to create a line between them and the counter-protesters. Liao, did that happen?
No, not at all. There was no line. There was no line. So, there's a few caught, texting on their phones. It was almost like why am I here? Kind of.
And I think that maybe they were texting this system here.
Maybe.
Still. You're right. Yep.
There were some people there that were kind of afraid. They were terrified that they were surrounded by just angry people. I mean, it's not like something that we're kind of used to, is it?
You know what's funny as well is that this is also where what's the union's name? Air 2, I think it was Air 2. They were there in support of the transactivists who ended up becoming violent. The woman wanted to be left alone. The woman wanted to ignore everyone outside the crowd of fencing. They just wanted to speak to women. They wanted their voice to be heard, and their voice was not heard. It was shut down violently, viciously. And again, I want to just bring it up here. That one at that middle where it says concerns. Expectation of police is to stay a distance away from the fence, but to create a line between them and counter-protesters. That is incredible that the police abandoned, as far as I'm concerned, they abandoned the rotunda. Now let's have a look at this. This is actually what this is what the police were also engaging with. This is that part of that WebEx or their system they use. All right. So 11:08 a.m. from Daniel Gray. People encouraging other to come into the rotunda from the Kitchener Street side. So therefore, come over from the backside and perhaps even climb up. Scary. Shaw Richardson, team moving there now. Then at 11:09, the scene looks a bit chaotic around the rotunda. Can you confirm those are Miss Parker supporters or counter-protest group? They don't know. They don't know who these are. Are these Miss Parkers or are this counter-protest? And then Daniel Gray gets in there, 11:10, 1 minute later, counter-protesters. Boom. Now suddenly you've got a situation that's getting intense, heavy. The police have started to abandon the area. And then Daniel Gray, counter-protesters. They've disassembled a portion of the fence. Some have carried pieces away. Other sections of fencing is lying on the ground. Not too much, just a half dozen sections, maybe. Extraordinary. All of this while being screams and yellings and the woman just trying to speak. And then at 11:12 a.m., Timothy Riley writes, has approached claiming to have been assaulted and crowd breaking through barriers. She wants police assistance. So this unnamed person has approached, claiming to have been assaulted. Crowd is breaking through the barriers. She wants police assistance. And then what do we see after that? An entire section redacted.
Redacted, yeah.
Yeah. Censored so that we do not see. And that's extraordinary. That is extraordinary. I think we must know what was the comms going on at that time. What we do know, and I think this is something which is of I think that is something of grave concern. Is that what we do know for sure anyway? Is that they weren't there, and I think that what we know is that the police physically abandoned that rotunda. Now, for whatever reason, whether they thought it was going to escalate the crowd or whatever, I don't know. But what I do know is that the police abandoned the rotunda, and that the people who got Pollie Parker out, and this is from the many live streams that captured it, that the people ended up, the men had to cover over her body because they were getting spits. There was attacks, punches, massive attack, verbal attacks just all the way through. They moved out, and then the police were able to engage in. And I think, as you said, Leo, they can't guarantee your safety. We need to go. I found it extraordinary. Just it's yet another horrible stain upon what used to be a honourable and a respected institution of the police.
I think,
but
I was just going to say, I think over the last 3 years, we have really been shocked to our core about how we used to see things and how we used to see the police and how, they were there to protect us. Our government was there to protect us. We had all of these, I don't know, almost fairy tale sort of thoughts about how, our people are supposed to protect us. And to actually see things for what they really are, because there are obviously motives that came into play here, where there was more, I guess, there was more protection for those who were in the transgender protests than there were for the people who were there to hear somebody speak. So to me, I just, the shocking part is that we have woken up. We have woken up to the reality of this, because if you've got people at the top who feel that way, then obviously you're going to have a whole lot of redacted stuff that, to me, I feel like they were mocking us. The redacted stuff where were the police mocking those who, because
that is
you
really
wouldn't
interesting.
redact it. Yeah, you wouldn't redact it unless there were things that you were hiding. So it's either, that's what they get, or that you could almost read it for yourself, even under what they've redacted, to that's what they get. They deserve it. They shouldn't be there. That kind of attitude, and you don't hide things unless there is something to hide.
Yeah, no, that's extraordinary. I think you're absolutely right. Now, in terms of what's happening, what the next steps are, is we do, of course, have the court case coming up next Wednesday, where I believe the male is being charged for common assault. So that'll be, I think, really powerful. We do have, the woman will be speaking again. This time, however, there will be more men there to protect them from the other men who wish to attack them. So I think that'll be quite powerful. Liao?
I just have no, I have no, there's no justice, for that poor old lady that got, her eye punched. What did he get for that? Like, and none of this is going to surprise me if she, that person is, the justice system, it's just filtered right through. Corruption is just, so don't expect anything great from this. In fact, I would say it would lean more the other way. The charges will probably be dropped, and the world will laugh at New Zealand again.
I think that is actually a powerful thing. How is the world going to react to this? These emails that have been exposed. Petey Roberts has actually brought in a really powerful part in there. Can we not appeal to the ombudsman to get the redactions removed? Let's try. Let's see if we can. Let's see if we can suss that out then. Penny, absolutely right. All right, I think that is fair. We want to try to see if we can get this redaction moved. It is important. we've got to be able to make a stand for women in this country. Surely, I know that New Zealand has got horrible statistics for child abuse and for women abuse, and it's getting worse under the wokeism that we have going on. So we really do have to get that sussed. But Leo, are you going to be there next week or what? What do you think?
I'm not sure. I'll pick my battles.
Pick
What
your
I do want to
battles.
say, yeah, what I do want to say, Elliot, is that the average Kiwi, and I'm saying this for like most of the country, the average Kiwi, they love their women. They love their children. This is, um, this is something that is fairly new in the sort of, oh, do we have to come and stand for our women now? Kind of thing where you just, on a normal day to day, you'd be working. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Now it's something that you have to intentionally do to make a stand. So, you know, um, yeah, I'll see how I go for next week. Um,
all right.
but my heart. We appreciate our women. We stand by them. But you know, you have to
Yeah.
pick your battles, right?
No, that's fair. That's fair. Look, just for all of you guys out there, I am going to put out the call. We're going to be seeking to, bring men to help defend the woman from the other men, and we would love to have you there. Of course, we want to make sure that they're given the best spot. So I'll put that out there anyway. But look, thank you so much for coming, and I want to say thank you for that person who was able to bring us those emails. We really want him to be safe. We know that the left tend to be quite vicious in their retaliation, that they don't have rules. They'll go after your children, they go over your lives, your livelihood. They won't stop. And this is where more of our parents, and as a Christian, this is where our churches actually need to get a backbone for once and be able to stand up, oppose it, because the others, many of us work in jobs that are attached to it, and we need those who are able to be advocates for us to be able to stand up and fight for us. So, look, any last words before we finish off for tonight, Leo?
I just think everything that we do, we need to do intentionally, because we have we have a government to change. We have, even our own lives. We have to look at what's the next thing that we have to do to stand up, because every bit of freedom that's taken away from us has been taken away very slowly and
Mm.
very, whether it's women, whether it's men, whether it's our prime minister not being able to say what a woman is. These are just
Woo!
these are just small things that have taken away not just our freedoms but our identity. So
Mm.
it's so important for us to, like I said, pick your battles
Yep.
and find out what's important for you to stand for right now. But do it. Don't. Sometimes you have to just do it, okay? Because
Yep.
if you start thinking about it, you're not going to do it. Because
Yep.
some
Fair enough.
some of it is scary, and you just have to up your brave.
Mm.
So,
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, we'll see you next Wednesday, hopefully. For you out there, thank you so much for listening in. We're going to still keep on top of this and find out what's going on. So, from all of us to you, God bless you, and God bless New Zealand.